welcome back to Cottoverdi. Today is day 3 of Vlogmas. I don't know why I'm laughing, I just think it's a really fun thing to do. I'm really enjoying Vlogmas. If you haven't seen my previous videos, then do look on the playlist in my channel. Anyway, today I've got 2 jobs to do. I've received an order of some Everbearing strawberry bare root plants, so I'm going to be potting those up and I'll talk you through it. And then the other thing I'm going to be doing is potting up some cuttings that I took of this beautiful plant here. Look at these gorgeous leaves. So I saw it in my sister's garden and I asked if I could have some cuttings. Obviously she said yes because she's my sis, but it's a weeping Cotoneaster. It's absolutely beautiful. So it has these lovely white flowers in the summer and beautiful red berries in the winter, and I would love to have that plant in my garden. If you've seen my Christmas wreath, then you know that I could do with some plants that have red berries. And it's semi-evergreen as well, so that means depending on your zone, it probably will keep its leaves and berries all through the winter. So let's get started. Both of these plants I am going to pot up into a gritty compost, and what that means is I'll use the multi-purpose peat-free compost that I always use. I'll put that in a link in the description below, and I'm going to add some horticultural grit to it for good drainage. And this is really important for root cuttings, but I think it's going to be quite important for the bare root strawberries as well. So I'm just going to use the same mix for both of them. So when you take hardwood cuttings, it's really important to keep them hydrated if you're not going to plant them straight away. But because these have been in a glass of water, I've changed the water regularly, but because they've been in a glass of water for a little while, actually what's happened is that they've started to root. Can you see those little roots there? So what I'm going to do now, because it's going into winter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some of the foliage off before I put them in the compost, because they don't need all of this foliage. I might just leave one leaf on each of them, like that. So the reason I've cut the foliage off, and I'm not going to keep that, is because I don't want them to transpire too much. Now that I'm putting them into compost, I want them to focus their energy on forming roots. I'm literally just going to use my dibber to poke a hole quite deep so that as much of the stem can go in as possible. And I'm just going to do this all the way around. So it's really easy to take hardwood cuttings, and I love doing it. And the other thing that I might take hardwood cuttings of in the next few days is some cornus, or dogwood is what it's called. And those have really beautiful colours at this time of year. And so I really like to have those in my garden. So I think I'm going to take some cuttings so that I have more of them. And that is all there is to it. Now I will water this in, but then I'm going to keep it in my cold frame in a sheltered spot, so it doesn't get too wet. I don't want it to get rained on too much. And it doesn't need any heat or anything like that. And these will just root over the next few months. And then come spring, I should have some lovely roots. The next thing I'm going to do is pot up my strawberry plants. The reason I've got a really large container is because I want to put 20 in here because it's so cold at the moment. I'm worried about putting them out in the garden. So I'm going to put them in here and then put them in my cold frames to protect them over the winter. And then I will plant them out in February, probably early February, I'll plant them out. So when you plant them out in the ground, they need, I think, at least 40 centimetres between each plant. But in here, I'm going to plant them much more closely. Now, this is the entire root, and strawberries don't really like having their roots crammed into a pot. So you wouldn't want to plant it with the roots bent like that. You want to plant it so the roots have a full root run, which is why I've got such a deep pot here. But as I said, I'm going to... In fact, I think I may need to do 2 pots this size, and I'll just space them out a little bit in here. So when you're planting a bare root strawberry, actually, let's pretend that I was just putting 1 in this pot here. What's really good to do is to make like a little mound in the middle and then spread the roots out around that mound. I'm not doing a very good job here of making a mound. So you would spread the roots out, so separate them like this gently, and then spread them out around the mound like this, and then you sit them on the mound. And then the other really important thing about when you're planting strawberries is that where the roots join the top of the plant here, this is as deep, let me point with a pointier thing, this is as deep as you want the soil to come. So you don't want the soil shouldn't come up to here. The soil really has to stop here at exactly where the roots join the crown, and it's quite easy to see where the roots join the crown. And so, as I said, that is where you would want the soil to come up to. But I'm going to try and get 10 into this pot. Because this isn't their final position, I'm not going to worry too much about spreading their roots out. I'm just going to try my best not to squish them all together. Actually, what I'm going to do is just add some more compost. Mix that grit in. But I am going to be really careful to make sure that the compost doesn't come up any higher than that crown there where the roots are. You don't want to see the roots necessarily, but we don't want compost up above it. So again, I'm just going to spread the roots out a little bit. Just, pull them apart gently. If these were at all dry, I would have them sitting in water for a good 10 minutes. But they've just arrived and they're not dry at all. So I'm not too worried about that. I just want to get them in and then I'll water them and they'll be absolutely fine. You can kind of see how wet they are. And don't worry at all that they've come, without any leaves or anything like that, because that's how you would expect strawberries to be at this time of year. You're possibly wondering what everbearing strawberries are, but everbearing strawberries simply mean that they keep bearing fruit throughout the summer. So they don't just fruit the once in June, they'll keep fruiting throughout the summer, and you just have a constant supply of strawberries, which is fantastic. As a temporary measure through the winter, this is going to be absolutely fine. I'm going to water these in now and then put them in the cold frame, and I'm going to do exactly the same with the next pot. That's it for today. I've done the 2 jobs that I wanted to do. It's really icy and frosty at the moment, so I just want to go outside and warm up. But I really enjoyed being out in the garden. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and joining me. I hope you found the video interesting and fun and useful, and I'll see you all tomorrow.